Hello, everybody. Here we are on this amazing day where we are honouring the very first certified handwriting specialist teachers in the world. Welcome. And I'd like to welcome Susan Bordley. Now, Susan, you're going to tell us all about yourself, and the floor is yours. Take it away.
Oh, hello. Thank you for having me here, Mel. Well, to tell you a little bit about myself is I've been an English teacher in secondary schools across the Merseyside and Cheshire region of the UK since 1997. Now, that was a crucial time to enter teaching because that was when computers were starting to become available to schools. I know when I was at school, schools didn't have computers, so certainly I grew up with, well, handwriting being the only effective way of communication. But at that time when I joined teaching, this was when, technological advances were bringing computers into schools, and obviously children are interested in new technology. However, I thought it was still important, really. I saw my role as a person entering teaching as being an advocate for handwriting within lessons. Now, of course, we made use of the technology around, but I was always keen for students to understand the value of handwriting.
Yes.
My other career is as an author and poet. I've had four novels, two under a pen name, two under my real name. I've had poems published in several anthologies, one of which was featured in a short film recently.
Wow.
My latest venture was my first ever book for children, which became a bestseller in October last year. So
Congratulations, Susan.
so writing is obviously something that's been a really important part in my life. So to address the question of, well, is handwriting still a core skill? Well, when that question was posed, to be honest, I was amazed that anyone would think it wasn't. It's still absolutely at the core of certainly everything I do in both of my careers. And to come to focus on the teaching at the moment, because obviously, we're here looking at handwriting teachers and the importance of young people understanding that handwriting is still an essential skill. Then I think when children are learning to write, I think the act of holding the pen or pencil in your hand and writing those letters, it aids retention. The forming of the letters with the pen aids retention in a way that just tapping on a keyboard really can't do. So I think it's essential that students do practice forming the letters, writing the words, and the time they'll spend writing those words, that will help those words become really etched in their memory. And I think certainly myself, as a teacher of English, I've worked with primary age children, but mostly with secondary age children. But whenever I've taught creative writing, I think handwriting is essential for creativity. I would always encourage students to begin with a pen and paper. Just get your ideas down, mind map in any order you like, organize them later. And that's something, again, a Word document doesn't really give you that, does it?
No.
It just doesn't allow you to just, you and the pen are kind of as one, aren't they? And it just allows you to just get your ideas down quickly. I know myself as a writer, for example, when I'm writing poems, I've never yet written a poem into the computer. I've got to start with the pen and paper, mostly because my inspirations for my poems often come from places where I might be out and about. I might see something, it might make me think. So, I'll get that pen and paper out of my bag and jot down a few ideas, and I'll expand on them when I get home. And, I know some people might argue, well, you could have a little tiny device in your pocket. It isn't the same. It just doesn't have that creative immediacy of having a pen in your hand and just, communicating your ideas in, just in the most immediate way. By the time you've turned your device on, you've probably forgotten what it was you were going to say.
I mean, we look at all the problems that we've been having today, just trying to get onto this recorded Zoom.
Yeah.
So the technology does let us down because there's so many of us, and we know that not the entire world is not online.
Exactly.
And even here in the UK, we have many areas of the UK where it's like being in Antarctica. It's like beep, 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 trying to get on.
The value of handwriting is really coming to the fore in these times, isn't it?
Yeah,
so, and how important it is. So, that leads you to think that the idea that people are discussing, is it worth teaching children to handwrite at the moment in this technological age? And again, I'd be surprised that question's being asked. I'd say absolutely. I said it's the first part of the creative writing process. You know, you mind map your ideas, you can connect them up later. You know, so just I think that is incredibly important. And one thing I would touch on for young people, even besides the classroom, and again, this is something that's come to the forefront while students have been at home for long periods of time, keeping diaries. Now, this was something that it went out of fashion a little while ago, but then keeping journals has really become very popular again. And I think that can be incredibly beneficial to young people. Because, you know, quite rightly so, parents keep an eye on the computer, keep an eye on whatever their child has access to on a computer. But with their own diary, their own little notepad, they can record things that can just be for them. And I think young people need that. They need to create their own, you know, personal record of their development, their own personal memories, something that can be private for them unless they choose to share it. You know, again, that's something technology really can't provide. So I think the ability to sort of just be yourself in a little book somewhere, I think that's something that I think a lot of young people would hugely benefit from in today's, you know, in certainly in today's circumstances.
I wanted to ask you, Susan, in your experience in the past, if a student struggled with handwriting, with the mechanics of handwriting, would that somehow hamper their future academic attainment? Would it hamper their confidence? How does it affect children if handwriting is an issue?
Yes, I think the ability to, well, difficulties with handwriting can impact on students and students' confidence. So I think it's really important that from a young age, students are encouraged that handwriting is an important skill, and that, for example, handwriting is important, but I don't think we should place too much emphasis on it being flowery and neat and beautiful.
No,
We should really just think, you know, whenever a child can write anything at all, that absolutely should be applauded. My own son has dyspraxia and does have difficulty with holding a pen. So, you know, we made sure that we managed to get him some adaptive pens that made it easier for him to hold, that he could get a better grip. You know, and again, we encouraged his efforts. And even though he still finds it difficult, we have seen an improvement in his willingness to get involved with writing. I think if students if students lack confidence at the beginning or in any way made to feel lacking in confidence, then they're likely to just think, well, I don't want to do this, then I just will type it up on the computer.
It's very interesting. When we've been going through the training, what happened last year was during the first lockdown, Denise and I donated the handwriting assessment training, which is online, to all the schools in the United Kingdom. And I thought, oh, well, that'll be it. Wow. We had schools from all over the world saying, can we do this? And we said,
That's
okay.
Fantastic.
And then, but we had specific groups of schools that said, can we do deep dives with you? And it was in these deep dives that we realized, okay, that the teachers were asking, saying, right, we've gone to assess, because we have an assessment toolkit. It's not a test, it's an assessment toolkit. And we look at the assessment and we can see the assessment flags up potential barriers and flags up DCD, dyspraxia, from a very early age. And what we're saying to teachers is, if you have this skill, this knowledge of being able to look at that assessment and go, aha, I knew it. Now I see.
Really essential diagnosis tool.
We can put all sorts of adaptation and mitigation skills in. We can negate some of these issues. So your son should never, ever have been going through that process. He's just lucky that he had you as his mum. He's really lucky.
He doesn't think that when I'm not going to tidy his room.
How old is he now?
Oh, he's 13.
Oh, I have a 13.
He doesn't feel that lucky to have me right now.
My 13-year-old is an absolute terror, and I've sent her. She's gone down to her grandparents, and I've said, my mother says, when is she coming back? I said, no. No, my daughter loves journaling. She loves writing notes. She writes, I say to her, you must write a letter. Write to your aunt, write to your uncle, write to your grandparents, write to your friends. it's something, it's you, it's the essence of you on
Bizarrely enough,
on that paper.
That's exactly what I've kind of said in my next point. The idea of, how important is handwriting in society? And I think, you know what, society is the key word in that question, isn't it?
Yes,
Just that writing, the ability to communicate in the written form, that's really part of what makes us human, isn't it? And you think about, social media may have diminished the importance of handwriting for some people, but I think it's what keeps communication personal. You think about, in recent years, there's been a rise in popularity of these kind of, you can mail order this handwritten card and they'll print in it, happy birthday from so and so. I just think they just seem very impersonal, and they imply a bit of a lack of thought on the part of the reader, the sender. I'd be a little disappointed if I received one like that. I mean, as it is, I've got a box full of the birthday cards I've received from my two boys year on year. It began with just a bit of a scroll when they could just do an X, and then eventually they could write their name, and then they can write, hope you have a lovely day. And if I just had a load of mail order printed ones, it meant nothing, wouldn't it? So, I think you think about some of the communications we have in life that mean the most. A little note on the fridge, a gift tag. Handwriting is what makes communication human, isn't it? So no, I think handwriting really plays a part in society, because who's ever clutched an email to their heart, with a bit of perfume dabbed on it? You haven't, have you? Of course you haven't. That's what I mean. The most important communications in our lives are written by hand.
Sue, I want to know, you're not teaching now, you are only writing, you are full-time writing?
Well, what I do is I do still do a little bit of teaching on a supply basis in schools, but luckily enough, as and when I want to, the writing's taken off reasonably well. So yes, I'm kind of a bit half and half at the moment. So I've got my ear to the ground. I still get to meet with students and ask them, how they feel about certain issues in education and development and what they're reading. But yes, I managed to devote a decent amount of time to the writing as well.
And what was the name of your most recent book?
Well, my most recent book, quite a longish title, but it's certainly memorable. It's called Sort Your Life Out, Laura Bishoprick.
Sort Your Life Out?
Sort Your Life Out, Laura Bishoprick.
And what's it about?
Yes, well, where it came from, it's a spin-off from my previous book. My previous book was a book called Rescue Me, and that book featured a woman called Nikki, and Laura was her best friend. Now, Sort Your Life Out, Laura Bishoprick is a kind of spin-off. It's a couple of years after Rescue Me. Nikki's kind of doing okay for herself now after the events of Rescue Me, and Laura's looking at her life and thinking, I need to get my life together. So I describe it as one woman's quest for a new job, a new flat, and a better class of sausage.
Oh, I'm not going to ask you what that means.
Oh, it really is just sausage.
A sausage.
It really is just. Oh, don't worry. You could read this book to your nan. It's quite clean. It really is. I really do just mean sausage. Don't worry about that. So
Susan, you've got me tickled pink here. What sort of a sausage does she want?
Oh no, it really is just sausage. But that's the kind of tone of the book. It's quite humorous. I think it's something that a lot of people need in these rather miserable times.
Absolutely. There's your phone. Hang on, let's get that.
I'll get back to them. So yes. Oh, so but I think sort of one of the questions that we were discussing when we were just preparing for the idea of this meeting is the impact that writing has upon people's lives. And for example, well, for personally, on a personal level, what my life would be like if I hadn't had the ability to write. And I think it's, leads back to what we said before. I think anyone who finds that they are having difficulties with writing, we really need to remove the stigma with anyone admitting that they've got difficulties with writing.
Absolutely.
Particularly in the cases of anyone who maybe reaches adulthood for any reason and is unable to write, that there should be no problem with them asking for help. Anyone who asks for help with being able to write should be absolutely welcomed and given all the help and encouragement they need. Because I know if I've been unable to write, well, I wouldn't have been able to have either of my careers without it. I think would have lived a really quite unfulfilled life. and certainly not have achieved my potential. Because I think, really, handwriting is absolutely it's the gateway to so many personal and professional opportunities.
It is.
And no matter what the future is going to hold in terms of technological advances, we're always going to need to pick up a pen and just get in touch with someone that way.
Oh, Susan, you are spot on. You're so right there. Absolutely. I did an interview with Sky News, and I remember the presenter saying to me, oh, well, we don't need to write now. We've all got. And I said, I find it interesting you say that while you're holding a pen in your hand.
Exactly.
And he was like, oh. Susan, am I allowed to add a link to where we can buy your books below this video?
Absolutely. I was hoping to be able to send those to you when we finish, when we cut off. If you give me an email address, I will send those over to you straight away.
Perfect. So before we go, how do you think it's going to change if a school, what our vision, what Denise and I have been thinking about, is that if every school has a certified handwriting specialist teacher, a team of them. I think we need a team of them, because we found that the feedback we've had is that they bounce off each other. They look at the assessment and they go, oh, look at this child. Okay, how do we negate this? Right, let's put a strategy to it. Let's have interventions. It transforms the delivery and the teaching of handwriting in that school. We found that in every school we've been in. So these are the very first certified handwriting specialist teachers in the world, the first. I wonder what we're going to be doing next year when we do this talk next year.
Who knows? I mean, well, certainly, I think having a handwriting certified specialist in every school in order to identify any issues with students' handwriting, I think it can only be a good thing if it could lead to students being more confident in their communication, because no matter what, students can say, oh, well, I'll just type it, but not when it comes to the exams. I'd say easily more than 90% of students will still handwrite their exams. And, I always used to say to students, if it can't be read, it can't be marked. You need to try to ensure that your handwriting is legible. And so I'd do everything I could to try and encourage students to feel confident with their writing and, remember that ultimately they will. The test of how they have shown what their last 11 years of school has been about, the GCSEs, that will be done by hand. So they really need to feel confident about it. So I think, yes, having specialists in school would be a wonderful thing.
Well, it's funny you say that. We've had a lot of secondary schools asking us. We've got something called Start Be Handwriting, where we started filming my daughter when she was 4 years old, and she delivers these lessons. She's filmed 800 lessons already. So she starts with children from the age of 4, and we've got a catch-up program from the age of 5. And I've had head teachers saying, have you got anything for teenagers? And I'm going, so I said to my daughter, I said, look, all those lessons you've done. She said, oh, Mum, you're not going to get me to film any more of those handwriting lessons. I said, oh, please, would you? She said, let me think. I was in a negotiating battle with my daughter on WhatsApp last. I said, please. She said, how many? I said, well, there's patterns, there's lowercase. She said, it's going to take a lot of time, Mum, and I've got my online work. My school work is a lot harder than being in school. So you're not gonna take up my time from school. I said, please. She said, okay, weekends, and I will give you an hour a night. I said, but that's going to take months. She said, take it or leave it.
Well, teenagers can be tough negotiators, can't they?
She said, what's in it for me? And I said, well, you want those braces for your teeth. She said, She said, you really, that's you driving a hard bargain there, Mum. She said, that's it. She said, you had me at hello. It's a deal. Susan, I cannot thank you enough for joining us today. This has been absolutely, you spot on. You've hit on so many important points that we take handwriting and being able to write for granted. We would not be where we are in today. I would not be here if I could not write. I would not have my business, my life, my experiences, all of my past history. I would not have them So if it wasn't for being able to, writing is everything. It's not just literacy. It's maths, it's science, it's biology, it's geography. Writing is everything, being able to make your mark. And that's what we want to do. Susan, we're going to be telling everybody, I want to read that book.
I'd love it if you did.
I want to copy it. I'm going to buy that book. Have an amazing day. Thank you so much. So we need to be talking in the future to you about the book and more things. So next year, when we do the next ceremony, we want copies. We want to be talking about it, and we want to be seeing that book in our English literature classes. We've got a deal.
I'm not sure about that, but anyway, thank you very much for having me, Melanie.
No, my pleasure. Sorry for the technological issues. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Susan. See you later.